Alrighty. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Reconnect My Heart podcast, the show that we talk about life's problems that may break or tear our hearts apart. On Reconnect My Heart, we discuss God's answers to life's problems to reconnect our hearts back to the way He originally made us. I'm your host, Brother Prater. So glad you're able to join us. If you have any questions, comments, you just want us to the show, feel free to call me at 855-772-8371. That is 855 Prater 1. Also, when they ask for the access code, type in 732 666 328. That word actually spells out reconnect. That's all. So 732 666 328. Also, I just want to actually just make it real to the point, short to the point, just letting y'all know. Thank y'all so much. I know had a late start, but I mean, thank God, got everything situated. Had some problems, but today is a special episode. Normally, like I said, I like to talk about real life issues that we deal with in life as believers too. Some people feel like, well, once you get saved, all your problems are over with. Sometimes that's when your problem starts. But the key thing about it, no matter what problem that we face, we don't have to deal with it alone. We already have victory. We got the assurance and we're empowered by the Holy Spirit. So because we're believers, we have help in a time of storm. We have a shelter in a time of storm. We also have strength and encouragement, not only after everything is over with, but even during. And so with that, today is a special episode because tomorrow would be my dad's 80th birthday. For those that know, unfortunately, he passed away February the 20th. It was a Thursday. And I just want to come on here and just let people know how blessed I am as a kid. Yeah, I'm a grown man, but I'm still a kid. To be able to have the fathers that I've had. My dad, I've shared this with him. If I was half the man that he was, if I was half the father that he was, I'd be a great father. And so, just thinking about some of the life lessons that he has given me that I even find myself incorporating in my life as we speak. He's always been a patient man. I remember telling him we were kids, man, you got more patience than Job. Job would have said, man, you know what, I'm done with this. But for my father, who have had so much love, not just for his kids, but for people. My father, he never met a stranger. And it's funny that sometimes, it's funny that sometimes we reflect sometimes when a person is no longer here or when they're not available. But I thank God that God allowed me to be able to remember my father even while he was here. And just think about the impact that he has made on my life and in my life. And so, yes, I'm sad that I don't have him with me physically, but the memories, the legacy, and the example that he has given me, it makes me want to fight even more to be able to leave a legacy for my son, so that way my son could, not just my son, yes, my son, anybody that may think of me, they can reflect on the goodness of God, and for them to be able to say, you know what, Brother Prater, he lived the life that he spoke about. And so with that, I want each and every one, those who may have loved ones, never take them for granted. You know, sometimes we used to hear those saying, here today, gone tomorrow. But shucks, the way things have been going, here today, gone today. You know, and like I said, even just looking at my dad, I know many of us are preparing for Mother's Day. Mother's Day is coming up next week. And, you know, my dad, you know, being born on Cinco de Mayo Day, my dad looking at, like I said, all the examples, and you know, I at first I was thinking about, like I said, having an episode where we just talk, but when I thought about, man, Monday, Dad's birthday, I had to come on here just to say something. And so, with that, my dad, he didn't complain. My dad, and I don't know if I shared this doing his tribute right after his passing, but I'm gonna say this. Yeah, at one point we, especially me, Sheila, and Walter, we grew up in a single parent home. After my mom and dad got a divorce, sometimes that would be very hard on kids. But my dad did this. This was not something that he asked. This was not something that he was told or made to do. But one of the things that my dad did when my mom and dad were going their separate ways, my dad volunteered. My dad had told the attorney what he was going to do. My dad said he was going to pay child support. He was going to pay the mortgage on the house. And he was going to pay taxes on the house. He wanted to do that for his kids to have a place to stay. Let me say that again. My daddy chose to pay child support, pay the mortgage on the house, and taxes on the house on a home that he no longer resided in. He wanted to do that for his kids. How many men would do that? My dad was that kind of a man. My dad, and matter of fact, there was some that, you know, wanted to speak ill of him, but he never talked ill about anybody. My dad have always said his favorite words, kill them with kindness. My dad was a man that, to be honest with you, he didn't just speak the life. He lived the life. My dad was my example and my hero pertaining to being fearless. No matter what you want to do in life, you put God first. No matter what you want to do in life, you tell God, you talk to God, God will instruct you. God will guide you on what to do and how to do it. Matter of fact, I was looking at my dad. My dad had this the spiritual gift of word of wisdom. Word of wisdom. He was so wise beyond his years. And I asked him one time, Dad, how are you able to do all that you do? He said that he would just talk to God and God would show him how to handle that situation. And matter of fact, my brother Ronnie reminded me his biggest task that was so hard for him to try to figure out. And that was him working on my 73 Dodge Dart Swinger. That was the first car that he gave me. And it was something that was wrong with it. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. Now, this was back in the late 90s. Excuse me, late 80s. This is before the machines and stuff, and of course, he could work on anything. He gave me a substitute car, but I didn't want no substitute. I barely tolerated that. I want my car. And so finally, one day, he told me to come on by to the shop. And he said he got my car running. He said this little piece right here. And my brother Ronnie told me the story. I forgot about it. But he said he wrestled with that. So finally he asked God, God, what is wrong with that boy car? And he said God showed him a picture. This was a vision. He said God showed him a picture of a part. And he said, you need to look for that part. And so the next morning when he got up, he went to the car, he took the car apart, and he found that piece that was broken. And he replaced it. And it got my car running. And I was like, wow. He said God just showed him that particular piece when he asked God what the problem was. And so my dad being the kind of man that trusted God, he trusted God even when it seemed like his back was against the wall. He taught me, and I didn't realize this until recently, but a couple of weeks ago, my second mother, my bonus mother, my stepmother, I went to her house and she gave me a cassette tape, and the cassette tape was my dad's first sermon. And I was like, wow, it was August the 6th of 1978. And it dawned on me, all these years being in school, all these years, I didn't realize we actually were preachers' kids. Didn't think about it. And it just hit me a couple weeks ago. I'm like, wow. So all throughout the time of us being in school, we were preacher kids, which eventually he ended up becoming a pastor. But my dad was so charismatic. My dad was the nurturing one. Now, don't get me wrong, he would discipline, but he didn't discipline so much physically. He knew how to get you right up here, and he would talk to you. And them words were worse than licks. Them words were like, man, and it was like we didn't want to disappoint Daddy. He had so much stock in us. He put so much hope and confidence in us. My dad made us feel like we could do anything. And I remember when I first started playing the drums, I used to have an allowance of $5 a week. And I would give my cousin $5 so I could play the drums at church. And when my daddy found out that I was giving my allowance money to my cousin so I could play the drums, he gave me $5 for my allowance and an additional $5 to give to my cousin so I can play the drums. That's the kind of man that my dad was. And I remember, some people say I wouldn't do good when I first started playing. I was self-taught. But what he would always do, whenever he would see me, he would do that. Keep on playing. Keep playing. And then he would get ready to sing when it was his time to preach. He would get ready to sing. He would always ask me to come on up to play for him. And that was the routine. My dad was an awesome man. He was an awesome man, but also he was country. That man was crazy. He was crazy, He had goats. And like I said, I don't want to repeat the same story, but he had goats, and most people, they would have dogs. They would train dogs to, guard the property and this and that. My dad had goats. Training the goats to not only protect the property, but he would teach them to be dependent upon him. My dad at one time, I'm going to say this. My daddy wanted to mate the goats. One was a full-size goat and the other one was a midget. The midget was a little boy. The full-size goat was the female. My crazy daddy went and got some Viagra to give to the little itty bitty midget goat so he can go ahead and handle his business with that full blown female goat. My daddy, look, Sheila Prater daddy. I asked him, like, what you gonna do? He said, yeah, so he can have some assistance. Have some assistance, that's gonna kill him. You know, even if you didn't give him the Viagra, she gonna kill him. How about you get a full size one or get a midget one for him? Nah, he can handle it. All I can do is just laugh. I said, wow, you crazy for real. But he was so freaking country. He was like, look, Dr. Frankenstein didn't have anything in his mind compared to my daddy mind. My daddy was a visionary. My daddy, my gosh, he was funny. He had the most charismatic laugh. Oh, we used to love to hear him laugh. 'Cause it was like he would just laugh from the bowels of his soul. You know, oh my gosh. And sing, oh my gosh. He was self-taught. My daddy, whatever he did it from all his heart. He taught us to do everything unto God and with all of our heart. Even when we go to his job, when he ended up having to no longer be self-employed, but when he was at work, he always gave 120%. He taught us work ethic. My dad taught us work ethic. My dad taught us to love and forgive. And so, with that, I just want to make it real short because I could be here all day talking about that man that I came from, Pastor Charles Prater. Man, my daddy. Everybody always want to be around my daddy. And sometimes we would get upset because people will pull our daddy from us. Sometimes there were some kids, either in the neighborhood or in the church or in the family, it's like they pulled on our dad. We're like, shucks, put on your own daddy. But they just go to show how much my daddy just, towards others. He loved people. And so, if people want to know why I am the way that I am, I got it from my daddy. And I don't apologize for it. To love unconditionally, to love your enemies in spite of how they treat you, my daddy taught us that. Like I said, not just by what he said, but how he lived. So yes, if I can think of one thing out of all the things when I think about my father, if I can think of anything, the main thing to sum it all up, thank the Lord that God had blessed me with a perfect image father to help me to see and to know who his real father was. Daddy allowed me to know his real father just by the life he lived. Now, I'm not talking about my father's biological father. We talking about his spiritual father. So, yeah. Some people, and I'm going to say this, I hear some people say, well, ain't no good man around, and some people may be afraid that some people may not be who they say they are. Some people say, well, if it's too good to be true, chances are it ain't true. Well, I will say this. My dad taught me to be that man of God. So that way, if a person really want to know God, they can see it through the life of you. And that's what my daddy taught me. And so, yeah, he may not be here physically, but he left a lot of examples. He left a lot of nuggets that I can feast off of to the day I die. You know, certain sayings like I said, kill them with kindness. You know, um, sometimes to save money, sometimes you have to save a dry stick for a wet day. And then he would say, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man learns from somebody else's mistakes. So always be open and big enough to, number one, to admit when you're wrong. Never be too big, never be too prideful to acknowledge when you're wrong. But also, instead of beating around the bush and all this stuff, hey, be direct. I learned that from my daddy. And sometimes it is disappointing when other people are not like that. But that's not your responsibility. You just deal with people accordingly. You deal with people according to knowledge. And also, being able to have that work ethic. That work ethic, if nothing else, like I said, that work ethic. And that relationship and that personal relationship with God that we all supposed to have. But yeah, but just because they don't pursue it does not give you permission for you not to pursue it. Yeah. So I learned that from my daddy. I thank God for Charles Prater. I thank God for Pastor Charles Prater. Like I said, I'm a blessed kid. And so with that, tomorrow, I was able to be off on tomorrow, which for those who may be watching, Monday, May the 5th, my dad would have been 80 years old. And so I was able to take off. I know it was the last minute and it hit me. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll see if I can go ahead and take off. And we're going to have a little celebratory time, you know. But just being able to just think about that God chose me. Yeah, I know. I have other brothers. I had one sister, unfortunately. She's no longer here. But God chose this dude right here to be the son of Pastor Charles Prater. Like that song says, if the Lord never does anything else for me, he done enough. God has really blessed this kid right here. So yes, like I said, if y'all want to know who my hero was, and God has really blessed me to be around some cool people in my life. Some cool people. That goes from Bonnie James, George Benson, Buddy Miles, what's that dude name? And some wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Sting, Kevin Von Erich, and the other, what's that guitar player? What's that guitar player name is? Oh, Prince. Yeah, I've been around some awesome people, and I thank God for it. Yeah. But the person that supersedes all of them is my daddy. Not just being his son, but for him to have had a personal relationship with me and was heavily involved and interested and gave interest in my life. Blessed kid. And I thank God, like I said, wanted to make sure I acknowledge, even my bonus mother, my stepmother, great young lady, and she really did an awesome job taking care of my daddy. Even when my father was kind of declining a little bit, he didn't fall off. No. Number one, he had that support system. He had a loving wife that took care of him. And she was that stand by your man wife. She was that, like Chaka Khan sung, through the fire. She was that to my dad. And that helped him so much. That gave him life. Even when things were dark in certain periods of his life. When things were dark, God allowed my stepmother, Emily Prater, to be that light, in that dark spot of his life. And that dark spot didn't stay long because of the brightness of that light. God allowed my dad to be with someone that superseded any and every darkness that the devil tried to throw. And so I appreciate her. And also, even just be able to raise 3 young men that I can say, and this is me being transparent, you know, I'm not a real trusting person. I don't automatically give my trust. I had to learn. Don't give your trust to people. You let them earn it. Yeah. But also check to see if they qualify for your trust. And for her to have raised 3 young men, that's Terry Jr., Travis, and Stephen. For her to raise 3 young men to be able to know how to respect their mother, but also their mother's husband. And then not only their mother's husband, but the children of their mother's husband. Now my dad brought that to our life. So yeah, to Emily, thank you so much for everything you've done. Not just for my dad, but even for us, for his kids, for his crazy kids. Yeah, they were crazy. But also for Travis, Steven, and Terry, man, I really appreciate y'all, man. Just seeing them sometimes I like to just see what's in their head, just to see the response, and also even just be able to just say, you know what, man, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all, the level of respect. Not just y'all giving my dad, but also even what I've seen with y'all mom, They could have been crazy. They could have been hell raisers. They could have. But they're not. And for them to have loved my dad. Also, I have to acknowledge one other person, Takora. That's my bonus niece. That's Terry's daughter, and shucks, she been in our life more than some of the other kinfolk, biological kinfolk of my dad. And her love and her reference for not just not just her biological grandmother, but even my daddy. So I appreciate that she has, especially during the process of planning for my dad's service, she has definitely been a light. So Decorah, I love you, dude. I appreciate you. And I always want you to keep your head up. Keep your head up. Know that, Paul would have been very proud of you. Paul really looked forward to seeing you, and you brought a lot of life to him. And not just as an adult, but I remember even as a little kid, I was seeing some of them pictures, and I was looking at church, and I'm like, man, that was her. That was Decorah, man. So I appreciate, sweetie. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you're doing, for your grandmother and, for your dad and just doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. And I want you to know that, Uncle June here for you. I love you dearly. Thank you so, so much. And so for the people who have been in my dad's life that I didn't get a chance to reach out to, I appreciate you. Not only those that were his friends, but even those that were his foes. Not only those that loved him and did him good, but even those that tried to challenge him. Those that were his enemies. Hey, I appreciate you. Why? Because number one, in the midst of the hate that you were trying to give, God allowed me to see my dad exhibit not what he was receiving, but what he was receiving from him. Not from y'all. Not what he was receiving from y'all, but what he was receiving from him. That was an example that God gave me through my daddy. So, yeah. My daddy, hey. no matter what may happen, that's something else my dad would say, no matter what may happen in life, there's always something good that come out of it. He said, your responsibility is just to seek God for that good. Ask God what that good is. What is the purpose of it? And trust in Him and lean on that. And that's what Pastor Prater taught me. And so, Dad, I want to tell you, man, I appreciate you, man. Oh, man, you did my heart good in everything, from the kid that I was to the man that I am. I am that man because of my daddy. And so I thank God for the opportunity to even share with y'all just a couple of moments pertaining to my daddy. And so, like I said, I want y'all to know, yeah, there's going to be some things that's going to be going on in my life that's going to be in the public. Excuse me. And I want y'all to know that I look forward to everything that may be coming, because God has blessed me. God has groomed me for a time like this. And this time like this is because of the goodness of God from my Heavenly Father, but also the opportunity and the goodness from my biological father. So with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Reconnect My Heart podcast. And also, once again, thank y'all for y'all love, support, and the cards, and the reaching out, the prayer, everything that y'all have given in our time of us losing my dad, Emily's husband, grandkids, all that. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And know, Daddy, thank you for making me proud. Thank you for making me be the man that I am. Thank you for helping me be the father that I am. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything you have deposited into me. And I want to assure you that you will not be disappointed. So I appreciate you. Thank y'all for listening to Reconnect My Heart. God bless you. And good night. Take care.